Deep within the heart of a mountain, a dying legend drew his final breaths. The colossal dragon lay surrounded by shadows, each labored exhale echoing through the stone chamber like the heartbeat of a fading god. Once, his vermilion scales burned brighter than a newborn star. Now they were dulled to the color of rust and time. His vast wings that once could eclipse the sun rested brittle and folded against a frame that was little more than bone and memory. This was Kazmar, the last dragon of Drathia, a creature so ancient that entire civilizations had risen and fallen beneath his watchful gaze. And now, he was slipping away. Around him moved the Dwathi healers, tall, ethereal beings with skin that shimmered like oil on water, and hands of 6 slender fingers, each glowing faintly with energy. For 300 cycles they had done everything within their power, blending science with mysticism, technology with prayer, to keep the dragon alive. But even miracles have limits. "The essence decay is accelerating," murmured Elder Nil, her luminous eyes dimming as symbols floated before her in the air. "His harmonic life resonance is collapsing completely. We've tried every frequency listed in the ancient archives," sighed High Healer Theron, pressing his palms to Kazmar's fading body. "Nothing holds the pattern anymore." A heavy silence filled the chamber, the kind that comes before the end. Elder Nil lowered her head. "Inform the council. Kazmar will not survive another lunar cycle." The healers turned to leave, their graceful forms gliding out of the chamber like ghosts of a dying age, none noticing the small shadow hiding behind a cluster of crystals. A 12-year-old boy pressed his back against the cool stone, his heart pounding. Eli Mason, the youngest member of Earth's diplomatic mission, knew exactly how much trouble he'd be in if he were caught here. The sacred dragon sanctuary was strictly forbidden, a place no human was ever meant to step foot in. If his parents found out, he'd be shipped back to Earth before he could blink. But Eli couldn't stay away. Something about the stories of the last dragon of Drathia had stirred something deep inside him, a pull he didn't understand, like a whisper calling him through his dreams. He crept closer, every step echoing softly. When he finally stood before the sleeping giant, his breath caught in awe. Kazmar was even more magnificent than the stories had claimed, his horns like black obsidian spires, his eyes closed beneath heavy lids, his entire being radiating a power so old it hummed in the air. "Hello," Eli whispered, barely loud enough to hear himself. A rumble trembled through the ground. Slowly, a massive eyelid lifted, revealing an eye larger than Eli's entire body. A golden pupil focused on him. And then, a voice spoke. Not aloud, but inside his mind. "You are not supposed to be here, little one." The voice was deep and ancient, but fragile, like thunder echoing from far away. Eli swallowed hard. "I know. I'm sorry. I wanted to see you." A puff of warm air brushed through his hair. The dragon's nostrils flared in faint amusement. Curious creatures, humans. So young among the stars, yet so bold. Eli hesitated. "Are you really dying?" The dragon's massive eye blinked once, slowly. "All things must end, child. I am the last of my kind. Soon dragons will live only in the Dwathi's memories." "That's not fair," Eli blurted out, taking a step closer. "You're too amazing to just disappear." Something like quiet laughter rippled through his mind. "Life seldom concerns itself with fairness. The Dwathi tried valiantly to preserve me, but some harmonies once broken cannot be restored." "Harmonies?" Eli asked softly. "Like music?" "In a way," Kazmar replied. "All life vibrates to its own frequency. Dragons exist where matter and pure energy intertwine. Our life endures through balance, through harmony. And mine is fading." Eli sat cross-legged on the cold stone, his young mind racing. His mother, a xenobiologist, often spoke about alien biology at dinner. His father, a cultural envoy, told stories about worlds bound by sound and light. He thought of all those talks, then said, "On Earth we have dragon stories too, some wise, some terrifying. They breathe fire, fly, guard treasures." "Echoes," Kazmar interrupted gently. "Ancient memories, from when my kind visited your world, long before your people built their first fires. The universe repeats its songs, young one. You and I are part of the same melody. And so the boy stayed, for hours, listening to stories of skies once filled with dragons, of ancient wars and peace forged in flame and song. In return, Eli spoke of earth, oceans, forests, and music. When the time grew late, he stood reluctantly. I have to go. My parents will worry. Then go, the dragon murmured. But return if you wish, Eli Mason. The company of a curious mind eases the fading. He did return, again and again. For 2 weeks the boy visited his dying friend. Each time, Casmar grew weaker, his scales dimmer, his breathing slower. Until one day Eli found him trembling, his enormous form shuddering in pain. Casmar! Eli ran to him, pressing a hand against the dragon's side. What's happening? Should I call the healers? No, came the faint whisper inside his mind. It is the disharmony, growing. The healers can do no more. Tears filled Eli's eyes. There has to be something I can do. The dragon's gaze met his, ancient and kind, and for the first time, Eli felt the raw pulse of the dragon's dying song echo through his mind and his heart. The Dwathi had exhausted every frequency their science and ancient lore could produce, yet nothing bridged the fracture within Casmar's essence. His kind resonated on patterns too intricate for their comprehension. Eli paced restlessly, his mind spinning. But what about humans? He blurted. We're different. Maybe we know something they don't. Casmar's enormous eye blinked slowly. Your species is young, child. The Dwathi have studied harmonics for thousands of cycles. Yeah, I know, Eli murmured, his brow furrowed. Then something surfaced. A memory, faint and fragile. Wait, my grandmother used to sing me this lullaby. She said it was ancient, passed down for generations. She called it the Dragon's Cradle Song. Casmar's mental presence sharpened, faint curiosity rippling through their bond. An interesting coincidence of names, perhaps. Maybe, Eli said, but she told me our ancestors believed it could heal broken things. Would it hurt to try? A sound like a deep, rumbling chuckle echoed faintly in Eli's mind. At this point, little human, I have nothing left to lose. Eli took a deep breath. He wasn't a great singer. His voice cracked now and then, but he closed his eyes and began. The melody was soft, haunting, alive. Words from a language no human had spoken in thousands of years drifted through the cavern, and then something impossible happened. The air shimmered, pulsing with faint light. Eli didn't notice, but Casmar did. The dragon felt it, a tremor of balance, the first true harmony he'd felt in centuries. The decay slowed, as though the song itself whispered to the dying essence, urging it to remember its shape. Eli's voice cracked mid-note. He stopped, embarrassed. Sorry. I told you I'm not a good singer. Continue, Casmar urged, his mental voice suddenly stronger, clearer. Confused but determined, Eli began again. This time he saw it. Light swirling through the air, pulsing with every note. It moved like living energy, wrapping around the dragon's body. By the time he finished, he was breathless. What's happening? He asked, eyes wide. Something I thought lost forever, Casmar whispered inside his mind. This song. It carries the harmonics of my kind. I have not felt such resonance since the height of dragon civilization. How could your people still know this? Before Eli could answer, light flooded the cavern entrance. Dwathi healers stormed in, their instruments beeping wildly. What is happening here? Elder Neil demanded, her glowing eyes locking onto the human boy. A human child? In the sacred sanctuary? 2 guards rushed forward, but a thunderous voice stopped them cold. The boy stays. The words weren't just heard, they reverberated through stone and soul alike. The Dwathi froze, stunned. Elder Neil approached, scanning her instruments in disbelief. Impossible. The degradation has slowed by 17%. Kazmar's gaze softened. The human child carries knowledge your people have forgotten, a song that resonates with dragon harmonics. All eyes turned to Eli. It's just a lullaby, he said nervously. My grandma called it the dragon's cradle song. High Healer Theron stepped forward. Sing it again, he ordered. We must record and analyze the frequencies. For hours, Eli repeated the melody while the Dwathi captured every vibration, mapping them against Kazmar's bioenergetic fields. The results left the scientists speechless. This harmonic structure doesn't exist in any Dwathi record, Theron reported to the gathered council. It perfectly complements the decaying frequencies in Kazmar's life force. Elder Neil turned to the boy, her tone reverent. How did humans come to know such music? We have no record of your kind ever meeting dragons. Eli shrugged helplessly. I don't know. Grandma said it's been in our family for thousands of years. Nobody remembers what the words mean, only that they must be sung exactly as they were. Kazmar's deep voice filled the chamber. Perhaps not all dragons left Earth when we departed. Some may have remained, teaching your kind the harmonies that preserve life. A wave of murmurs rippled through the council. The implications were staggering. Can the song heal you completely? Eli asked hopefully. Not yet, Kazmar replied. It is incomplete, a fragment of something greater, but it has bought me time, perhaps enough to rediscover the full sequence. Council Leader Vexel, the highest Dwathi authority, stepped forward. This discovery changes everything. If dragons and humans once shared a bond, it could explain much of what our history has lost. He looked at Eli, voice solemn but kind. Young human, your discovery may have saved the last dragon. Your people must be informed at once. Within hours, Eli found himself standing before the Dwathi High Council and his parents. His mother's expression was a mix of pride and frustration. Eli Mason, she said sternly, I can't decide whether to ground you for life or nominate you for a medal. His father sighed beside her. Breaking into a sacred sanctuary, Eli. What were you thinking? I just wanted to see the dragon, Eli muttered. Then we started talking, and it felt important. Ambassador Chun, Earth's lead diplomat, leaned forward. Eli, do you understand what this means? If humans possess knowledge that can save the last dragon, this could redefine our alliance with the Dwathi. Council Leader Vexel nodded gravely.
For centuries, we have watched dragons fade into legend. If there is even a sliver of hope, we must follow it with all we have. But I only know that one song. Eli protested. And Kazmar said it's just a fragment. Then we must find the rest, declared Elder Enwil, her voice echoing through the chamber. If one human family carried this melody across centuries, others may have preserved their own fragments. Together, they might complete the pattern. Ambassador Chun's eyes widened as realization struck. You're suggesting a global search for dragon lore hidden in human history. A colossal task, Council Leader Vexel said gravely, but one worth undertaking. We propose a joint research initiative. Dwathi harmonic experts will collaborate with human historians, linguists, and musicologists. Together, we'll search for the lost songs of the dragons. As the adults launched into discussions of logistics and diplomacy, Eli quietly drifted away. He walked to the massive viewing window overlooking the glowing spires of the Dwathi capital. Beyond the horizon, he could just make out the silhouette of the sacred mountain, Kazmar's sanctuary, bathed in the soft orange of the setting sun. You've started something extraordinary, came a voice behind him. Eli turned to see Dr. Mara Santos, Earth's leading xenoarchaeologist, watching him with warm, curious eyes. I didn't mean to, Eli admitted. I just wanted to help Kazmar.
Doutor Santos smiled gently.
Often, the greatest discoveries begin that way. She joined him by the window, the light glinting off the alien city below. Tell me, Eli, your grandmother's lullaby. Do you think there are others like it? Eli thought about the strange melody, how it had always felt different from any song he'd ever heard, how it seemed to vibrate in his bones instead of just in his ears. "I think so," he said slowly. "Grandma used to say every old family has its secrets, stories or songs that must never be forgotten. Maybe some of those secrets were about dragons." Dr. Santos's eyes lit with excitement. "Then we need to find them, and quickly. The Dwathi healers say your song slowed Casmer's decay, but it hasn't stopped it. We have maybe 6 months before he's lost again." 6 months. To search the entire earth for fragments of forgotten dragon songs. The task sounded impossible. But as Eli looked toward the distant mountain, a quiet certainty filled him. This wasn't just coincidence. The connection between humans and dragons was deeper, ancient, something that had waited across time and stars for him to uncover. "We'll find them," he said softly but with growing conviction. "We have to." The following days were chaos, organized chaos. A joint Earth-Dwathi task force formed almost overnight. Scientists, historians, linguists, and harmonic theorists worked around the clock. Eli, to his embarrassment, became the center of it all, endlessly singing his grandmother's lullaby for testing, answering questions about his ancestry, and being prodded for every possible memory. "We've identified 7 unique harmonic patterns within the song," explained Dr. Ko, a human musicologist, during one late-night briefing. "Each produces a distinct resonance effect in Casmer's physiology. But there are gaps, missing intervals. We estimate there should be between 20 and 30 total patterns." High Healer Thurin nodded gravely. "The full healing sequence must be woven from all of them, each one precisely aligned." Ambassador Chun frowned. "So we're looking for dozens of fragments, scattered across human cultures over millennia." "Not scattered at random," Dr. Santos interjected. "If dragons once walked among early humans, they would have been deliberate. They may have entrusted fragments to specific regions, families, to preserve different aspects of." Eli's father, silent until now, leaned forward. Eli's grandmother's family came from Wales, a region famous for its dragon legends. "That can't be coincidence." "Indeed," Dr. Santos said, her voice rising with excitement. "Every major civilization has dragon myths, Chinese, Welsh, Norse, Mesoamerican, but they're all different. What if those differences reflect contact with different dragon lineages, or fragments of the same ancient harmony?" The search exploded into motion. Teams spread across Earth, following mythic trails. Linguists analyzed ancient scripts for encoded patterns. Musicologists dissected centuries-old folk songs for traces of harmonic resonance. Every discovery brought them a little closer, but not close enough. Meanwhile, Eli visited Casmer as often as he could. The dragon's breathing remained heavy but steady. His strength was fading, yet his spirit seemed brighter. "Do you think we'll find the other songs in time?" Eli asked one day, his voice small in the vastness of the cavern. Casmer's eye, luminous and weary, regarded him with quiet affection. "Time has always been my enemy, young one. But now, for the first time in centuries." He paused, the faintest glimmer of warmth touching his mind's voice. "I feel something I thought long lost." "What's that?" Eli asked. "Hope." 3 months passed. Then, at last, a breakthrough. In a small rural village in China, researchers uncovered an ancient ritual dance performed only once every 50 years. The accompanying chant, when analyzed, contained 2 of the missing harmonic patterns. A week later, a team in Peru discovered cave paintings depicting dragons alongside musical symbols carved into stone. The translated melody revealed 3 more. Piece by piece, humanity was remembering. But time was slipping away. Casmer's condition began to worsen again, the single lullaby's effect fading as his essence continued to unravel. 5 months after Eli first sang to the dragon, they had recovered 19 distinct patterns. According to the Dwathi healers, at least 4 critical ones were still missing. "We've exhausted every known source," Dr. Santos reported grimly at an emergency meeting. "Every myth, every song, every trace of dragon lore. Whatever remains is either lost to history or hidden where we haven't thought to look." Eli sat silently, the weight of the dragon's fate pressing down on him. Casmer had grown weaker. The thought of losing him after coming this far twisted his heart. That night, unable to sleep, Eli wandered through the embassy gardens. Above him, the 3 moons of Drathia cast overlapping shadows that rippled across the ground, shifting and merging like living things. For a moment, he thought he saw the shapes forming a pattern. A rhythm he couldn't quite understand. Something was calling to him. Patterns. Everything pointed back to patterns. The harmonics of dragon life force. The way dragon lore spread across human cultures. The fragments, fitting together like pieces of a colossal cosmic puzzle. Suddenly, a realization hit Eli so forcefully he froze in place. What if they had been thinking too literally all along? What if the missing fragments weren't songs at all? The next morning, Eli burst into his father's office, interrupting a live video conference with Earth. "Dad, I need to speak to Dr. Santos. Immediately. I think I know where the missing pieces are." Within hours, Eli stood before the assembled research team. His words tumbled out in excitement. "We've been searching for songs and chants," he explained. "But what if some of the knowledge was preserved in other forms? Visual patterns, architecture, even dance movements?" Dr. Santos's eyes widened. "Of course, information can be encoded in multiple ways. A harmonic sequence could be expressed as a visual pattern or physical movement, while preserving its mathematical essence." "Exactly." Eli pointed to the holographic display of the known harmonics. "See these sequences? They form geometric shapes in 3 dimensions. What if some cultures preserved the shapes rather than the sounds?" The revelation sent the team in a new direction. They began examining ancient sites, textiles, dance rituals, and even calendars for hidden mathematical structures that might correspond to the lost harmonics. Days later, one fragment was found in the precise alignment of standing stones in Scotland. Another emerged from the intricate knotwork of Viking artifacts. A third appeared in the layout of traditional Japanese gardens. But the final, crucial fragment remained missing, and Casimir was fading fast. "We're so close," Eli whispered beside the dragon's massive head. Casimir's once brilliant eye had dimmed to a dull glow. "Just one more piece. There has to be a way to find it." The dragon's mental voice trembled faintly. "Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps this is how the story ends." "No." Eli's voice echoed in the cavern. "Why would dragons preserve almost everything and leave one piece missing?" Then a thought struck him. What if the last piece wasn't hidden in human history at all? What if it was something simpler? Something right in front of them all along? Eli looked at the weakening dragon. What if the final fragment isn't something we find, but something we create? Casimir's gaze sharpened, a flicker of interest in his fading depths. The patterns we've gathered, they all fit together in a specific way. What if the final one is the bridge, the piece that connects all the others? Maybe it requires human intuition, Eli said. Dragons gave us these fragments for a reason. Perhaps they knew we would someday need to complete the pattern ourselves. Eli sprinted from the chamber, nearly colliding with Dr. Santos. "We need to stop looking for the last piece. We need to create it." She stared. "Create it?" "Eli, these are harmonic patterns that took dragons millennia to perfect." "Look at what we already have," Eli replied, showing the holographic display of the 19 fragments. "There's a pattern to how they fit together. I can feel it." Dr. Santos studied the display, skepticism fading as realization dawned. There is a mathematical progression, if we extrapolate based on the existing sequences. Within hours, the lab buzzed with activity. Human mathematicians, Dwathi sound engineers, and harmonic healers worked side by side, analyzing the fragments for the elusive pattern that could complete the song. After 2 sleepless days, Dr. Ko spoke. "The patterns suggest a self-replicating fractal structure with 19 nodes. The 20th should have these properties." He displayed the complex waveform on the main screen. High Healer then shook his head. "Translating this into sound may be beyond human vocal capabilities." From the corner, Eli stepped forward. "Let me try." Doubt filled the room.
Doutor Santos Siged.
"Eli, this isn't a lullaby. Its mathematical precision at a level even dragons. Exactly.
Eli interrupted.
That's why they trusted us. They believed humans could rise to the challenge. After tense discussion, the team agreed. Hours passed. Eli sang, adjusted, tried again, the team analyzing every attempt. Finally, the sound engineer groaned. It's impossible. The human voice cannot produce all these frequencies simultaneously.
Eli slumped. Exhausted.
The solution was so close, yet so far. As the lab emptied, Eli stayed behind. He stared at the holographic patterns. 19 fragments, each dazzling alone, but together hinting at something far greater. He closed his eyes. In his mind, the patterns began to shift, intertwining like the overlapping shadows of Drathia's moons. And then it clicked. His eyes snapped open. It's not one voice, he whispered. It's many. The next morning, the team returned to find Eli waiting, a new determination burning in his eyes. We've been trying to create the 20th fragment as a single vocal pattern, Eli began, his voice tense with urgency. But what if it's meant to be a harmony? What if it exists in the relationship between multiple voices? Dr. Ko frowned. Meaning? Exactly? Meaning, Eli's excitement was building. That maybe the final piece isn't missing because it was lost. Maybe it only exists when all the other fragments come together. The final fragment is the harmony itself. The room erupted in debate, but the logic was undeniable. If dragons deliberately distributed their knowledge across human cultures, perhaps the ultimate healing required collaboration. Humans singing together, voices intertwined, creating what no single person could achieve alone. A new plan formed. 7 singers were selected, each assigned to perform specific fragments of the recovered harmonics. Eli would lead with his grandmother's lullaby, laying the foundation. But time was running out. Casmer's condition had worsened. The dragon lay in a near-comatose state, his life force flickering like a dying star. We have hours, not days, Elder Enwell warned, her words carrying unspoken gravity. The singers took their positions in a circle around Casmer's massive body. Instruments tracked every shift in his bioenergetic field. Dwathi healers stood ready to channel their energies if needed. Eli inhaled deeply and began to sing. His grandmother's lullaby echoed through the chamber, weaving its familiar, haunting melody. Then the second voice joined, adding a new harmonic layer. The third and fourth voices followed, intertwining with precision and grace. With every added voice, the air began to shimmer, glowing with intensity. By the time all 7 sang together, their voices wove a complex tapestry of sound and energy. Light danced, patterns shifted, and the scientists' instruments struggled to keep pace with the transformation. Eli's gaze never left Casmer. At first, there was no change. The dragon remained motionless, breathing shallow, scales dulled. Then, as the harmonic convergence reached its crescendo, a pulse of energy surged through Casmer. His scales flickered, catching glimpses of their former brilliance. It's working, Dr. Santos shouted over the music. Keep going. The singers pressed on, voices growing stronger, weaving together with confidence. Energy swirled, converging on the dragon in radiant waves. Another pulse surged, then another. Casmer's massive body trembled, and suddenly, his eyes snapped open, blazing with renewed fire. With a sound unlike anything humans or Dwathi had ever heard, Casmer's roar emerged. A song, a counterpoint to the human voices. It was perfect. The 20th fragment had not been missing. It had been waiting for this moment, for the dragon's own voice to merge with humans in harmony. Light exploded through the chamber, forcing all to shield their eyes. For breathtaking moments, the combined human and dragon energies resonated through reality itself. Gradually, the light faded. Voices quieted one by one until only Eli's lullaby lingered, soft against the stone walls. Casmer now stood at full height. His crimson scales gleamed, wings extended majestically, eyes sharp and bright as they fixed on Eli with an intensity that left the boy breathless. The broken has been made whole, Casmer's mental voice rumbled. rich with power and emotion.
Eldenil, instrument forgotten, whispered, impossible.
Not impossible, Casmer corrected gently. Merely forgotten. Ancient dragons knew salvation would not come from preserving the past, but from joining with the future. In the following days, the implications rippled through both human and Dwathi societies. The joint research initiative expanded, exploring the full depth of the ancient connection between dragons and humans. Casmer, fully restored, became an active participant, revealing that the harmonics used in his healing were only a fraction of the knowledge his ancestors had left across human cultures. There is much more to discover, he explained to the combined diplomatic corps. Mathematics, science, philosophy, all preserved in fragments across your world, waiting to be reunited. For Eli, the adventure had just begun. As the youngest member of the Dragon Knowledge Recovery Team, he traveled between Earth and Drathia, helping unlock the ancient connections binding their worlds. 6 months after Casmer's revival, Eli stood atop a hill overlooking the Dwathi capital. The dragon soared through the evening sky, wings catching the sunset's glow. He's beautiful, Dr. Santos said, joining him. And to think, she added softly, without you, he would have been lost forever. Eli shook his head, a small smile tugging at his lips. Not lost, he whispered. Just waiting. It wasn't just me, Eli said softly, awe in his voice. It was all of us together. That's what the dragons were trying to tell us all along. Dr. Santos smiled, her eyes sparkling. Indeed, and there's even more exciting news. She paused for effect. The genetic samples from Casmer have revealed something unexpected. Eli leaned forward, heart racing. His DNA contains markers suggesting that reproduction might be possible. But he's the last dragon, Eli whispered, disbelief heavy in his tone. The last full dragon, yes, Dr. Santos clarified. But certain reptilian species on both Earth and Drathia share surprising genetic similarities with dragons. With Casmer's essence restored, and our combined knowledge, the Dwathi believe we may be able to restore the dragon species. Eli watched Casmer carve a perfect spiral through the clouds outside, scales glinting in the sunlight. A thrill ran through him. So he won't be the last dragon after all. No, Dr. Santos agreed. Thanks to a human boy who dared to sing a forbidden song, dragons may once again soar across multiple worlds. That night, as Eli lay in his embassy room, preparing for sleep, a familiar presence brushed against his mind. Are you awake, young singer? Casmer asked, the dragon's mental voice gentle and warm. Yes, Eli replied silently, still marveling at how natural the mental communication had become. Is everything okay? More than okay. The dragon's voice hummed with joy. I wish to share something with you before it becomes common knowledge. The geneticists are correct. Dragonkind will live again. Eli sat up, excitement bubbling inside him. They're sure. Indeed, Casmer replied. But there is more. A calm, somber note entered the dragon's thoughts. When my kind returns in greater numbers, we will need guides. Beings who understand both dragon nature and the modern worlds of humans and Dwathi. Like ambassadors? Eli asked. Like riders, Casmer corrected. In ancient times, certain humans and Dwathi formed sacred bonds with dragons, becoming partners in great endeavors. Such partnerships may be needed again. Eli's heart raced. Are you asking me? The choice will be yours when the time comes, Casmer said, reverent and steady. But know this, Eli Mason, you would be honored among my kind. First singer of the new age. As the dragon's presence withdrew from his mind, Eli lay back on his bed, staring out at the alien stars through his window. From a curious boy sneaking out to see a legendary creature, he now might become a dragon rider, an ambassador between worlds. The thought was almost too enormous to comprehend. Yet, somehow, it felt right, as if the ancient lullaby his grandmother had sung had been guiding him all along. Not just saving the last dragon, but helping forge a new beginning for 3 species, united by harmonies that transcended the stars themselves. And that, finally, was the end of the story. If you listened all the way through, don't forget to leave feedback in the comments, positive or negative, so we can keep improving. Like the video, subscribe for more stories like this, and check the screen for another video you'll love.